Satellite imagery reveals a damaged Chinese Coastguard ship in dry dock, its bow visibly crumpled and torn. This is no routine maintenance, it's evidence of a violent recent impact. Scaffolding surrounds the wound as crews work around the clock. The vessel, a Zhaotu-class cutter known as the Monster, is now out of action, an unfiltered glimpse into the risks of China's maritime strategy. To understand the damaged ship in the dry dock, we must look back a few weeks. The story begins in the turbulent waters of the South China Sea, near Scarborough Shoal, a small ring of reefs claimed by both the Philippines and China. For the Philippines, it's a vital fishing ground. For China, a strategic outpost in its sweeping 9-line claim. The navies and coast guards of both nations are locked in a tense daily dance of sovereignty and intimidation. The Philippine Coast Guard was escorting supply boats to Filipino fishermen inside the shoal's lagoon, a regular flashpoint. China, which has blockaded the shoal since 2012, views these missions as violations and deploys its own massive Coast Guard ships to intercept. In late August 2025, under the tropical sun, a standard escort mission was about to escalate. Scarborough Shoal lies well within the Philippines' internationally recognized exclusive economic zone, but over 500 nautical miles from China's Hainan island. Despite this, China maintains a constant, overwhelming presence. The area has become a flashpoint, where small actions can have large consequences. This particular mission was routine until it wasn't. The Philippine vessels were determined to complete their task. The Chinese Coast Guard was equally determined to stop them. Imagine two cars at an intersection, neither willing to yield. The ships, massive objects of steel, were on a collision course. The stage was set for a dangerous and potentially violent encounter. The damaged Chinese Coast Guard ship now sitting in Hainan is not just any vessel. It's a symbol of China's power and a key tool in its maritime strategy. Frontline enforcers of Beijing's claims. These ships are designed to intimidate and block smaller vessels without firing a shot, using so-called gray zone tactics. After the collision near Scarborough Shoal, Beijing's response was silence. No official statement, no media coverage, as if the incident never happened. This wall of denial is a classic tactic. If there's no confirmation, there's no story, no fault, no law to answer for. But the silence stands in stark contrast to mounting evidence. Philippine reports, video footage, and now, irrefutable satellite imagery. Admitting that one of its powerful cutters was damaged would undermine China's image of invincibility and raise uncomfortable questions at home. The role of this ship is to be the aggressor, the enforcer. For it to end up damaged is a major reversal. It exposes a vulnerability in the gray zone strategy. These tactics are risky, and accidents can and do happen. Beijing's silence is an attempt to hide this crack in its armor. The confrontation that led to the crash was a textbook example of China's blockade tactics, until it went wrong. As the Philippine convoy approached Scarborough Shoal, multiple Chinese Coast Guard vessels moved to intercept, forming a physical barrier. The Chinese ships, much larger and heavier, maneuvered aggressively, cutting across the bows of the smaller Philippine vessels. On that day, something went awry. Video footage shows the damaged Chinese cutter attempting an aggressive block, while another Chinese militia vessel maneuvered nearby. In the chaos, the two Chinese ships ended up on a collision course with each other. It was a disastrous case of friendly fire, a miscalculation in a high-pressure environment. The impact was severe, concentrated on the bow of the larger ship, causing the crumpling now visible in satellite photos. This was not a minor bump, it was a significant crash, highlighting the risks of flooding a small area with many large, aggressive vessels. The very tactics designed to project strength can backfire spectacularly. The incident shows the immense pressure on Chinese captains to be aggressive, pushing the limits in a crowded, dynamic environment. In this case, the line between intimidation and chaos was crossed by two ships from the same side. In the aftermath of the collision, the diplomatic fallout began. The Philippines quickly released clear, high-definition video footage of the incident, showing Chinese ships maneuvering dangerously and the moment of impact. Manila issued a strong statement condemning China's reckless actions, framing the incident as a direct result of Beijing's illegal blockade. By providing visual evidence, the Philippines seized control of the narrative before China could respond. China's initial reaction was silence, then denial and counter-accusation, blaming the Philippines for the dangerous situation. Chinese state media released its own heavily edited, grainy video, trying to portray the Philippine ships as aggressors. The global reaction largely sided with the Philippines, with allies reaffirming support and calling for adherence to international law. The stark difference in video quality played a huge role. Manila's footage was credible, Beijing's was viewed with suspicion. This tale of two videos highlights a new front in the South China Sea dispute, the information war. Scarborough Shoal, Panatag Shoal to the Philippines, Huangyan Island to China is more than just rocks. It's a potent symbol at the heart of the South China Sea dispute. For generations it was a common fishing ground, but in 2012 China seized de facto control, barring Filipino fishermen and challenging Philippine sovereignty. In 2016, an international tribunal ruled in favor of the Philippines, invalidating China's expansive claim and calling the blockade illegal. China rejected the ruling, seeing the shoal as a strategic foothold for future military outposts. The waters around the shoal have become a permanent zone of conflict, with constant cat-and-mouse games between Chinese and Philippine coastguards. The Chinese use their larger ships to intimidate and block. The Philippines relies on determination, international law, and publicizing China's actions. The recent collision is a direct consequence of this unresolved tension, a physical manifestation of the diplomatic and legal stalemate. Every mission is a test of wills, and the shoal itself is a microcosm of the entire South China Sea conflict. The damaged ship in Hainan is not just broken metal, it's a symbol of a broken and dangerous status quo. Repairing the bow of a massive Coast Guard cutter is a complex and urgent task. First, a detailed damage assessment is conducted, mapping visible and hidden damage. Once in dry dock, the damaged section is cut away using high-temperature plasma cutters. New steel plates are fabricated and bent to match the original design. The new sections are welded into place with welds inspected for flaws. After welding, the seams are ground down for hydrodynamics. Multiple layers of anti-corrosion coatings and paint are applied, restoring the ship's distinctive look. The entire process is a race against time. Every day in dry dock is a day the ship isn't on patrol. For a frontline vessel, urgency is driven by the need to return to the operational theater as quickly as possible. The repairs are as much about restoring power as fixing steel. The choice of where to repair the damaged cutter is deeply significant. China has many commercial shipyards, but the ship is at Yulon Naval Base, a highly sensitive military installation. This is a political and strategic choice, not one of convenience. Repairing at a naval base offers secrecy. Yulon is home to China's South Sea Fleet and nuclear submarines with absolute security. Beijing hoped to keep the repair job out of public view, away from journalists and civilian observers. The decision also highlights the blurred lines between China's Coast Guard and Navy. The CCG is under direct military command, a second navy in all but name. Conducting repairs at a premier naval base reinforces this reality. But the secrecy backfired. Satellite imagery exposed the operation, making the incident impossible to hide. If repaired at a commercial yard, it could be dismissed as routine. At Yulon, it confirms the severity and the desire to hide it. The location of the repair has become a key piece of evidence, telling a story of military integration, secrecy, and a failed attempt to control the narrative. Modern technology turned a clandestine operation into a global headline. This single incident, from the collision at sea to the repairs in Hainan, is a powerful symbol with real-world consequences. For China, it's a moment of unexpected vulnerability, a crack in the armor of its gray zone strategy. The Chinese Coast Guard is supposed to be the enforcer, always in control. Seeing one of its prize cutters damaged by friendly fire shatters that image. For the Philippines, it's a tactical and diplomatic victory. They completed their mission and exposed China's recklessness. By documenting and sharing the event, they turned a confrontation into a story of resistance, rallying international support. For Southeast Asia and the world, this is a case study in the dangers of China's maritime assertiveness and the power of transparency. The incident is a warning. The South China Sea is inherently unstable, and accidents can escalate quickly. The damaged ship in Yulon Dry Dock is more than a repair job. It's a snapshot of a defining geopolitical struggle. It reveals the risks in China's expansionist strategy, the growing effectiveness of smaller nations' counter-tactics, and the crucial role of technology in holding power to account. The world was given a glimpse behind the curtain, and it's essential we pay attention to what it reveals.